Now, my name is Andre, and I'm gonna have the pleasure of walking you guys a bit through what Heimdal does, and more particularly, who is Heimdal. So basically, Heimdal is a Danish cybersecurity vendor. We've started over 10 years ago, and we managed to build literally the world's biggest unified security platform. Now, we won't touch on all of these layers because this is visible across the web if anybody is curious. Today, we're going to focus on two key products out of all of this list that you guys are seeing this, which are patch and asset management and DNS. Now, I will put a timer for myself because I tend to speak a lot. So I just want to make sure that I keep things under control. Good. Now, let's start by discussing about patch and asset management and DNS. And before I show you product, right, let's actually think about why is this important. Now, can a vulnerability lead to a business loss, a breach, a ransomware, extortion, and so on and so forth? So let's see what actually happens when this vulnerability is exposed to the world, and how is this actually ending up for a potential breach within the NHS. Now, when a vulnerability is disclosed, right, there are two things happening that you don't see and we don't see. So illegal remote scanning of systems across the web that are vulnerable to that, and other hackers are trying to create an exploit. Now, after these two happen, they actually start a lot of chatter on the dark web. Now, some people actually sell this particular result, but some people actually just put it on the dark web for boasting purposes, right? They have big egos. Hackers have big egos. You would not believe how big their egos are. Then after this, some other people, other hackers are taking or purchasing these assets, which are lists of vulnerable systems, and the exploit, so the mechanism to leverage the vulnerability in the environment. And after that, they gain access. They leverage this particular access that they bought, and they gain access to the vulnerable networks. Then they consolidate that access. So they sit patiently, they try to do reconnaissance and make sure that they actually can deliver a full-blown attack. After that, sometimes they actually attack. But the more interesting part is this. They actually then take that access, which they have consolidated, tested everything, and they sell it for more money on the dark web. This is called initial access brokers, and it's a phenomena that has been costing the world a lot lately. Then after this sale happens, the final attacker establishes access with everything. They literally have a proof of concept when this type of access is being sold. And after they establish the final access, they do consolidation and advanced reconnaissance, and then they do data leaking, ransomware, or any other dangerous cyber attack. So basically, this is how this all connects. But wait, there's more. And this is one of the biggest problems that we're facing in today's world. As Paul mentioned, threats are evolving, and not just threats, the cyber attack industry is evolving and it's self-sustainable right now, which is very dangerous. So let's actually look at this part over here. Let me put a laser pointer. Where's the laser? Here's the laser. So data leaking, right? So they have extracted this data. What happens after this? Aside of them doing business disruption, extortion, and all of these things, they actually sell this data in bulk so that they can recover some more money, right? Then after they sell this data in bulk, this data is placed through a service called account checkers, which is again a paid service on the dark web. And the purchase data is being combed through and validated. Now, what data is actually usable again for a cyber attack? Guess what happens with it? It's sold again in initial access brokers. And this particular thing happens again and again and again, unfortunately. And that's one of the biggest problems we're facing in cybersecurity right now. Aside of threats being more sophisticated, their speed of reaction is way faster than back in the day. They also help each other. So cybercrime families, like there's an industry, like a supply chain, a distribution chain. It's no longer I am one hacker and I do everything by myself. Now, in order for them to move faster, they actually split these responsibilities. Now, let me close this poll for myself because it appeared on the middle of my screen. Okay, now, are you curious to see how this looks like the initial access brokers? So that you see I'm not actually fantasizing about this. Let's see, anybody in the chat, yes, no? Does anyone want to see such an example? Okay, I'll take that as a yes, right? I don't see anybody in the Q&A box or the chat. Let me show you an example of this. Okay, Billy came with a thumbs up. This is Access being sold to Access UK. You might know the company, right? 15,000 employees, 6 billion revenue. They sell access to the Citrix and the work computer. User has basic rights. The computer opens, command prompt opens. And for this access, they ask for 6K on the spot or 4,000 to start the auction and each step at 200. So this is an example of an auction of initial access on the dark web. And that's why it's very dangerous to have this CVE present in your environment. So speed in patching is of an essence, because if you can patch before they can actually do the exploit and push out the exploit to the vulnerable systems, you already disabled their capability to make you one of their victims. Now, let's also talk about a different angle when it comes to the importance of patching. This is called TTKE. What does this stand for? Time to known exploitation in days. That means from when a vulnerability is disclosed officially, so it hit the larger web, everybody knows about it. How much time do you think is needed for attackers to actually use this to make a dangerous exploit and attack you? Now, if you look at all the vulnerabilities that have been analyzed in this particular study, we have over 1 month, under 1 month, in between 2 weeks and 1 month. We have in between 1 and 2 weeks, and we also have in between 1 day and 1 week, and less than 1 day. So you might be surprised by these metrics. I'll just put them in fast so that we can then also look at a bit the product. So guys, 51.2% of the exploits that have been used in the world were actually issued in 1 or less than 1 day versus the vulnerability being disclosed globally. That means that they're using this before the vendor actually posts the vulnerability or in that day. So they move that fast. And this is from a study made a year ago. Imagine what happens today when they have AI tools to help them. They don't need to code everything from scratch. So I don't even want to think about what this particular statistic will show as today. Things are a bit dangerous in today's environment. Now, what I want to show you is, and let me open one browser window over here, just a second. And I want to show you a bit on the Heimdal portal and how we take care of this particular patching. So you guys should see my browser about now. And I believe this is a yes. Let me also bring up the window. Billy, a thumbs up, a thumbs down, anything like that? Okay, so I bet you're seeing my browser. Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Frederick. I appreciate you guys. So basically, with Heimdal, you get to unify all these layers so that you don't need to worry about this because, as Paul said, you have enough to worry about. So if we can take some of that worry away from you without creating more overhead, more agents, more teams to manage, more vendors to discuss with, more support teams to engage to, for us, this is a major win. So when it comes to patching, what we do is when you install the Heimdal agent will see all the assets that you have in the environment. It will simply immediately show you what is vulnerable, if Heimdal can support this for you, if Heimdal can uninstall this for you. And this is a click of a button. You have a report with all the software assets that are within the environment where you placed Heimdal. But when you do place Heimdal in the settings, we recommend to just allow it to update everything for you. Now, when you do that, in the standard view, you will start getting to see updates continuously happening. So let me put more data here and show you some more. So basically, you'll see something like this. It found WinRAR, it took it from this version to this version. This had no manual intervention behind it. Nobody needed to come in the Heimdal portal and press 5 buttons and wait, and it actually does the job for you, and it does it silently. Moreover, all these packages are validated by our team. So they take them, they check them for malware, for unwanted applications, for backdoors, they check them for functionality, and then silently they update on your computers. And this is in 4 hours since the vendor releases their patch. So this is how powerful it is. Of course, it has a lot of other features: push install, catalog install, scheduling, right? Reporting, but we won't get to that. What I do want to show you guys is that it also contains an automatic Cyber Essentials compliance checker. But I'm at 10 minutes, and I also want to show you the dangers of DNS, right? Because we said patching and DNS are the most adopted products within the NHS. So for that example, what I'll do is I'll show you this virtual machine, right? Now, question for you guys. When you connect to a browser window, to a website, how many DNS connections do you think you're doing? One? Let's see. Anybody from the audience cares to pitch in the Q&A box or chat? Okay, let's see. How many network savvy people do we have in this room? Okay, I'll show you guys. Even better, right? So let's do this. Let's close all of these and let's pick a new website. So I will open something called Developer Tools. And in Developer Tools, there's another small something called Network. And let's take a random CNN, right? .com. And these are all the requests that your computer is doing and accepting when they load CNN.com. Look at this number, and it's still growing, and it's growing. Any of these could be dangerous. So all of these are connections that your computer is making, and you're not seeing them. Any type of banner that is visible on this site could be compromised. And again, this is just a random example. The situation is that most of these requests happen without you seeing them in the backend, right? Now, let me show you another example, and this is pertaining to that WannaCry situation that that Paul was mentioning. Let's say something on your computer gets downloaded, added to the browser, and then they execute a type of command and control. They want a beacon, right? This is something that would happen exactly like that, but I just made it for you to see it right now. Usually it happens hidden. Now with that, I actually have 2 files. Usually these are not named virus1 and virus2, right? They are actually named in a way so that your user hits click on them or they automatically initialize in the backend. So if I can then go to click on virus1, it will try to open something. However, for me personally, it doesn't open anything. And here's why. If I go back to my Heimdal portal now, something that you did not see visually on the computer is this. When we go here at the DNS security in Heimdal, I see this machine spiking a lot over here, but I want to look at Sales Demo 5. This is the machine I just used right now. So if I look at Sales Demo 5, let's, I need to go to today. Okay, so a few moments ago, exactly a few moments ago, these are all the DNS requests that were happening from my computer, right? All of these were happening, but I don't know what this is, and I didn't even visually see that happening. Let's see if we can find out together what this is. So if I go on Virus Total, which is an automatic tool that is embedded here, let me take this one, an automatic tool. I can see that 8 out of 93 vendors that do network security or internet security find this as dangerous. Let's look in relations. In relations, I can see that files that are on this website, file vendors, 65 out of 71 find this as dangerous. And by the way, this is exactly what Paul said. WannaCry, which is still an active threat, unfortunately. And files that are taking you and taking your machine and sending it to this particular place 59 out of 63 vendors found these files as being dangerous. So let's actually click on one and let's see what these files are. WannaCry cryptor, WannaCry ransomware. Guys, the bottom line is, did you see how easy it is to just click on something, which could be a legitimate website, which could be something that you don't even get to click on. It actually happens in the back end of the computer, and it takes you to such a domain. This domain downloads components back to your computer because you did the trusted handshake. And then if you do not have a proper layered security to make sure that they cannot exploit, or the fact that they, even if they try to exploit, something is blocking that exploit from happening, such as this one, right? Let's go back to the virtual machine for a second. If this virus wants to happen for me, let me go back to the virtual. Okay, it cannot do anything because we stopped the command and control domain. So just two of the modules, very powerful, preventive modules. DNS does not allow you to communicate with these very suspicious and malicious domains. And second, patching does not allow them to have a place to actually come into and exploit your network.